Hey, hey, the door is open. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to another episode, another edition of Cat and Dogs, aka Real Talk with K and J. Come on in. Make sure you give me some hearts, some love. Dwayne is in the building, my man. Love to see that name. um, so yeah, Dwayne, I'm with you. Skylar was talking about she was ready like an hour ago. So we're going to get a couple of more people in. I hope everybody had a great week off since we did not do anything on last week, Wednesday. Um, and we'll continue this as a routine. I think Ms. B has extended her platform, and that's going to be great. Um, so we're going to wait on a couple of more people, to come on in. Come on in. So as we're starting to build this, we're going to go ahead and get started because time will be short. So today's topic was one that was near and dear to me. The topic was feed them until they look like you. So one of the things we wanted to talk about was, does anybody have an idea actually what that topic means? If you're in the building, go ahead and give us some thumbs up, and everything else is here. What does it mean? So back when you were growing up and your mom and dad and your pops would talk to you, people will make a comment, oh, if you feed them long enough, they'll look like you. Well, one of the things that I wanted to talk about was, we're not really talking about food. What we're talking about is pouring into individuals that may not be your own, aka we're talking about a blended family, because that's what we have. I have a 16-year-old daughter who is 6'1" probably right now and playing basketball. And as we start to move into relationships, so this is going to start off hard and heavy for the man. What do you do and how do you pick your mate when you're coming out of a relationship and you have a child? Or you have a child and maybe you weren't married, you fathered a child and you're taking care of your child, and you've experienced some things. You've experienced some hurt. You may have experienced the one night stand that didn't go any farther. What do you do and what are you looking for when you start to engage women in that part of courtship, in that part of dating? What is the one thing that you're looking for, or what are the things that you should consider before you create a union and you have a child from an outside situation, an outside person, or you had a previous marriage and you had a child? So one of the things I really wanted to do was kind of zone in on our journey and what that looked like. Because as we're talking about building relationships, we talked about, what men are looking for. We've talked about what women are looking for. One of the things that hit home for me was really to talk about that blended family. How do you pour in? So again, we're not talking about feeding them with food. We're talking about physically, emotionally, and spiritually. How do you create that union? I'm gonna let Trina kind of start this off a little bit, and then we'll kick in and talk about the men and talk about the women and the different viewpoints that can go from there.
Okay, so like you said, relationships with having kids involved is a complete different dynamic than just single people meeting, dating, taking it further. Like you said, when we met, he has a daughter, and it was important for him to see, you have to nurture a child. You don't know the situation of how the parent feels about, excuse me, the other person moving on, what the child's heard, what the child's been told. You don't know all of that stuff. You kind of walk in blindly. And for me, we've heard I don't want my child around whoever, if you with somebody, then, women have the tendency to pull the child back. You can't see my child if you're dating somebody else, the whole 9 yards. We've heard those stories, maybe experienced those stories. And with us, I think the first time I met his daughter, excuse me, we had a conversation prior to And it was just like, she's a child. The more that she gets from us as an adult, the better it is for her. I can understand people, some situations are not good for anybody, the child, the mom, the dad, whoever. But with us, our situation was different. We talk about everything. And we met, we had the conversation, and I was like, I have to let her feel me, which is the way I let her figure out how she wanted, to interact with me our very first meeting. I didn't force myself into the situation. I let him and her have their time together, and I'm just doing my own thing. And eventually a child feels when someone is not, you know, gonna do them any harm, not gonna mistreat them, not kind of, that kind of thing. So I met her at their family reunion. The first day she like paid me no attention whatsoever. She was under her dad, which I was fine with it. I expected it. I'm not your mom, I'm your dad's wife. I get that. And then, as she watched us interact, her actions toward me changed when she watched me and him interact with each other and, with the rest of the family. So the next day, it was kind of, she was still clinging to dad, which I was okay with that, but I'm still interacting with him because, that's my husband. And by the end of the third day or whatever, it was like we were inseparable. She was on my side, like she was my own, which she is mine. When she's with us, she's mine regardless. But it's the things that she watched me. She watched me. She watched, and it was like, okay, okay, I can feel her at the moment. And I think it was important for him to see me, how I reacted to the whole situation, which I didn't have an issue with, but we know everybody's situation does not always, come off that easy, come off that clear, because we still have bitter exes, we still have, all that kind of stuff, and people are dealing with that. It's like, I want to have a relationship with my child, but I can't because I'm not with the child's parent.
Correct, Dwayne. When we're talking about setting the pace, so I'm going to go all in because that was the political correct version. Just let's be real. As men, we see a package, we like it, we think it's something we want to pursue, we get involved, but maybe we have not really thought through, oh, I got a daughter, I got a son. How is that going to look? Is she great with kids? Because now you don't have that time to fill her out because you have a child. So in a relationship, she's going to want to spend time with you, but you're going to be wanting to spend time with your child. So one of the bigger things to do is, what do we do and how do we do it? So one of the things I wanted to do was to be real careful about how we want to interact. So in that broken relationship and marriage that I had before, I knew to sit down with my wife and say, hey, this is what I need. This is how I need it. I need to make sure that you understand that I want to foster these characteristics in my daughter, right? I want her to be great. I want her to be outstanding. I want you to show her the things that attracted me to you, right? When you got a package and they're well put together and they're doing the things that they need to do, that's what you want. You want your child to emulate that. So what I started to do was we just had a conversation and said, hey, babe, she's getting older. I don't know where her hair care is. I need you to kind of foster that for her. Cool. Hey, you're doing this makeup thing. You all glam and pop life and everything. Hey, we're not going makeup, but talk to her about face care and talk to her about lip gloss, and men, we don't like our children with lip gloss. Yeah, that's just a no-go. So it was really about setting the stage and setting the table. The part about the two connecting is real. There were times when she was here that I was like the lone wolf. I'm talking to her. She's like, Dad, I'm not talking to you. This me mistreated on some things. And you have to be man enough to show that. So now it really wasn't jealous, but of course I displayed some jealous tendencies And that encouraged and moved my daughter to connect more with my wife. Um, and when you're adults and you want to feed your child, you want them to look like you want them to think like you pour into them. And if your mate or the person that you choose is there for that, then that great makes a great union. But men, we have to really figure out, is that the right one for us? Hey, Aaron, is that the right one for us? Right? If she looks great and the package is great, it's Christmas all day when the gifts are wrapped with the pretty bow. But you really need to step back and men and assess, is that the quality? Does she have what I need in order for people to move forward, in order for my child to get that support? And I think that was very important. Men, that is incumbent on us to kind of set the tone. You're absolutely right, Dwayne. Set the tone because that is your child. And again, that has to be vice versa. You have to be able to accept that if the roles were reversed. Um, Aaron, I think that when we say setting a standard, sometimes for me, it wasn't a standard, as in this is the level. It was, these are things that you're great at. These are things that I admire in my wife. Let's see if we can ease some of that into my daughter, right? Let's see if we can do that. I'm probably one of the few men that is in the makeup store buying makeup for her. I need to know that. I know shades. I got to do all of that. But I also want my daughter to be able to present in that fashion. So that was great for me to be able to have that conversations. Again, Aaron, as you said, set a standard. Understand that I'm not going to McDonald's to spend the day with my child when I have a whole house and a wife or girlfriend. If we're going to do this, we're going to do this together. We're going to picnic as a threesome. We're not picnicking just me and my daughter and the wife or girlfriend. And she was both of those at that point. We're kind of out there. She's doing her thing and the two of us come home and we've had fun. I really wanted to engage and bring people in to what we were trying to do.
And it's like I said, it's not always easy depending on the situation. For us, it wasn't as hard as I expected it to be. I had those, there's always those thoughts because we always know those situations of people always say, like I said, I don't want my child around whoever. I don't want my child, with her or whatever. It wasn't that bad in the beginning, but to me, it's not even about us. It's about the child. If we have three adults pouring into a child in a great way, I'm all for it. I understand 100% that she has a mom, but I'm the bonus. I'm his wife. I'm an extension of him. I love him, therefore I love his child. All three of us pouring into her, that's her village. And nowadays we know we need villages. And that's my thing is, like you said, not only her as a girl pouring into her, me as a woman pouring into her as a girl as she becomes a woman. It's so much that I can pour into her that he can't. He's her father. There's things that he's gonna teach her, tell her. But when she's with us, we want to continue continue pouring into her mentally, spiritually, all the girly things, all the whatever she's interested in to keep her engaged in our life.
And we have to keep that. And man, this is me not catering toward the women in this conversation, but it's very incumbent for me. It was very important for me to take that lead. My daughter saw me do everything. Be great, be successful in the job. We played basketball. She kind of took that from me. The influence of, she knew that I was playing semi-pro ball before I blew my knee. One day she said she was going to play basketball. Okay, let's do it. The next year, though, she wanted to know my basketball number. She wanted to take my number and play with my number. So those were great. Next thing we know, she's won 2 county championships and was 1 game away from the state. And that was a 12-hour drive, but that was a 12-hour drive that we took to get to that game. Literally left on Friday, drove 12 hours, caught her practice Friday night, caught the game on Saturday, hung out with her Saturday night, woke up Sunday morning, and was headed back to North Carolina. So there's some commitment there that we have to do. There's some commitment there that you have to do. So if men are upfront, setting those goals, setting those standards, things work out great. Now, if they don't work out great, men, then we got to evaluate who's sitting next to us. Because maybe we weren't watching the real deal. Maybe we was looking at as Ms. B say, all of the things that may have been moving and grooving and curving and swerving. But when you start talking about having that individual around your child and for an extended period of time. So my child knows when school's out, she's headed to North Carolina. Unfortunately, this year they put her basketball tryouts for June the 1st through the 4th. But she's already like, I'm on the plane the night of the 4th, Dad, or I'm on the plane the morning of the 5th. I'm on the way. And those are things that we have to do. So men, don't get hypnotized by those attributes or features of the lady that you forget that you may have a responsibility to your child, to your offspring, to make sure that you're bringing them in to the best environment possible. I think that is what we do. Dwayne, interesting point. I think she just has to have a level of, she has to become comfortable. You may have to create some smaller venues and get her to start to do some of the things that they won't do, that she's not familiar with. I know that we got to take care of our kids, and I know that the young lady has to, so we have to give her a little leeway. We have to ease her into that. She could be feeling that, Lord, I went from single to a full-fledged family because I like Dwayne. So you may have to have that conversation that maybe we're not at the full-fledged family. And I do remember conversations we had, Dwayne, so I hadn't forgotten those. But that's a part of me. And if we can't make that work, then there's a problem. I would suggest, again, kind of having that conversation and creating some scenarios where it's just you, your lady, and your child. And small venues, the Pizza Hut, the McDonald's, those things for grown-ups we don't necessarily look forward to, probably. But that is all that my daughter talks about. When I get to North Carolina, she has a whole list, and out of 36 places, I bet you 30 of those are places that we eat. But that's because she's relaxed, she's having fun, but it's also a place that is neutral. Think about a child that comes into your house with your lady friend or your new wife. She doesn't see that as neutral territory. She sees that as my daddy got some woman up here. So you have to create a way for it to be neutral, for it to be inviting. And again, I'm going to keep reiterating it because that was a real conversation we had. I love you to death. But if my child don't like you, we may have to come back and reevaluate this thing and do a little outline and see what we did wrong, because I'm not sacrificing the bond with my child to have a lady friend who eventually became my wife. It was more of, we got to make this thing work. This thing needs to be together. And that's kind of how I felt. And that's kind of how we kind of approached it. So my suggestion, Dwayne, would be to create small venues, pockets of time that the three of you are at neutral places. Many times it could be a place that your child picks, because that, of course, makes that she's comfortable. And her guard is not always up to see the interaction between you two. And you're going to have to be aware of that interaction and understand that that's going to play a big role in how your daughter or your son responds to the lady that's in your life.
It is that is very important. We all know kids watch everything. Kids see things and they know and understand things that we don't think they do. We know kids these days are as smart as ever. And it's important for it's just the the everyday normal stuff that you do with each other, that you do around each other. Like I said, she sees us in our city. If you know us personally, you know we are like two high school kids. So she sees us, in our everyday self, just being us, not being, not being something that's threatening to her, or that's like, makes her feel uncomfortable. And we include her or let her be involved in our silliness and all that kind of stuff. We're adults, but we have to include her in our silliness, and let her include us in all the things that she want to talk about: shoes, clothes, the whatever. So you have to create the situation that you want. You're already walking into something that's unfamiliar. To me, it was unfamiliar because I don't have a child. I don't have a child. So that was like an unfamiliar thing for me, walking into, the situation of taking on the role of being, this influential adult in her life, which is what I consider myself. I'm her bonus mom. I'm an influential adult in her life. And so, I had to create that I wanted, for her, and that I wanted with him when we were all together. So you have to create situations, for yourself. You can't go by, whatever happened when, or who's ever experienced. You have to create your own.
I agree. Hey, Paula, welcome in. I think as we continue to manifest this thing that we want in men, is want to have that relationship. Um, I think about fostering. You got to foster. You have to work. You kind of have to usher in what you're looking for. If you think that it's just going to show up, then that's probably the beginning to the end. I know that for me, it's one thing for me to kind of think about what would happen if things didn't go well. Um, you know, how do you do it? What do we do? Um, how do we make this work? And you put in the work before. And I think anything that we've said in the couple of episodes that we've had has always been put in the work, right? If you're not putting in the work, if you're not cultivating, motivating, then it doesn't work. Plants don't grow without dirt. They don't grow without fertilizer. They don't grow without water. You got to pour into things to get the flower that comes out. Um, and that's going to be something. That's going to be something that I think is important. Thanks, MJ. We're going to try to read that one in just a few seconds, to really try to figure out what to do and how to do it. MJ says a man has to consider with two aspects: his silliness to accept the woman, yes, and her past, and the child and his future. Man, you when you talk about baggage, and I don't know if anybody really sat down and listened to that Erykah Badu "Bad Lady" song. That song is so deep in so many levels, and of course she's singing and she keeps using the word that alludes to her talking about another female. But men, we carry baggage too, and baggage is real. Now, ladies, you can put your Louis Vuitton on and your Fendi, your Prada, and your Gucci. At the end of the day, it's still a bag. It's still a person, right? One of the few men that I know, I carry man bags. I have, too many maybe, 4 or 5 Michael Kors. I had a bunch of coaches. I carry a bag, but that often reminds me that, hey, I can't push those previous things on what happens. Yes, Miss B, bag lady is real. One of the most profound things about that is the fact that she's telling her that, and she knows that she doesn't know that she's carrying back. You know, bringing in issues from failed relationships or previous marriages that you've had and now you're divorced, that kind of only sets up for the end. Doesn't set up for the beginning. It doesn't set up for things that need to be fostered and kind of moved and grooved on forward. Um, that's just something that I think we have to figure out. Uh, what do we do? Um, every time I look at my phone again to look at these comments, Aaron's name and this whole set the standard. And some men don't care. You're absolutely right. Some men don't care. Some men do what they do. Oh, Dwayne, you can Swiss bags are cool, bro. You say they work too. Hey, Trina will eventually tell you guys. I essentially call her spoiled, but I just am spoiled, man. I see things I like. I'm a firm believer we work hard, you play hard, but take care of your business. Take care of your business, right? When the paycheck comes in, take care of your business and handle your business. And then you can kind of afford to play and stay and lay after the business has been taken care of. I'm trying to figure that piece out about standards. I think, Aaron, there's a couple of things. You have standards and then you have expectations. So I have standards that I wanted to see shown or given to my dog. Those are standards. Trina will roll her eyes, but I have said it because my dad ingrained it in me. My dad said, "You're a baker." And we used to say all the time, "What does that mean?" And he would just walk off. And then we realized that you're a baker had like 16 different meanings. Like, you're a baker, you should be acting better than that. You're a baker, you're going to be the best at what you do. You're a baker, not just because of virtue that was your last name, because you're going to put in the work to be that way. An awesome father for a role model. Awesome father. You're talking about a guy with 2 PhDs and only knew work. Retired 3 times from the city, the county, and the state. But he had a drive of excellence. And for me, that was important for me. Now, I know you're talking about me being born in 71, and you're talking about 2020. So that standard and how you pour into your child looks different now. I'm great on sports. Look at the difference in coaching and how we coach our children versus the way I was coached. My coach was basically standing in my shorts when I did something wrong, telling me I did something wrong. Now we're at a point where you don't do that. That's not fair, or that may be intimidating the child. So as you learn to navigate these ruts, you also have to learn what your communication style is. What does that look like? And how do we further invest in our child? And what does investment look like? And if we weren't talking about food, and we're definitely not talking about spending money. That's not what it is. Someone just said, don't forget that some people have hidden expectations. You're absolutely right. They do, because they don't know how to communicate, or they don't want to communicate. There's a big difference. Some people at work, when I'm not satisfied with their performance, they go in the office and they shut down. Takes them about 30 minutes. They'll come out of their office and then they'll say, "Okay, tell me how I can make this better, or how I can do better." Or my question is, you made a decision. It didn't kill anybody, didn't harm anybody, but walk me through why you made that decision. People who don't have expectations or have hidden expectations, that's where that conversation comes in, Paula. That's where the putting in work. That's where the conversation is when you're up on the phone. People laugh about that when you were teenagers and you was on the phone and it was 12 o'clock and you had to go to school. You hang up. Now you hang up first. No, you hang up. We laugh at that, but at that point, you were trying to really learn the individual that you were talking to. We have to go back to that communication. Communication has to be the key. And I don't think texting in this arena that we're talking about is a great form of communication. I don't think that's something that is acceptable. Without all those hidden motives, hidden ideals.
Hidden expectations. Absolutely. And I think a lot of that is in it can be it definitely is the truth. You like you said, you meet people with your eyes, you see something that looks good to you, you know, you like, okay, I want to get to know this person. But now we know that people have agendas. People deal with people because of what they have, because of what they can do, because of what they can give you. You know, we know all of those things. And I think when it comes to the point of finding a mate, finding somebody that you want to spend your life with and all of that kind of thing, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work to get to know somebody. When you meet somebody, you don't know their past. You don't know what they're coming out of. You don't know what they're still dealing with. You don't know any of this stuff. You kind of walk in blindly. You have expectations, but where do the expectations come from when you first meet somebody that you don't even know? Do you expect for them to What do you expect from somebody when you first meet them? I think when we reconnected after 13 years, I didn't really have an expectation. I had been single for about 5 years or so. And like I said, when I first got the message that he was like, hi, it's like, okay, tell the stranger I said hi. I had no expectations in the beginning because I'm like, I don't know where he is, what he's doing, who's in his life. I don't know any of this stuff. But in conversation, we navigated through a lot of stuff in our initial conversations. We would spend hours on the phone just talking. Just talking. Like I said, our very first year was long distance. So all we had was communication. That was pretty much all we had. And you learn, even though people can hide things, you have an intuition. You pick up on things that don't feel right to you. And sometimes we ignore it. We should walk away when we don't. And we kind of have to accept responsibility in some stuff. And then some stuff we just kind of have to let that person be who they are and go on about their business. But once you're involved with somebody, you just have to keep talking about things. When things arise that aren't right for you or aren't what you expect at that moment, then I need to let you know that, hey, that I don't, that's not for me. That's not the kind of thing I want to deal with. Or, if we can't resolve this, or how do we resolve this? Or, this situation may not be right for us, but, with us, we just have to keep talking about things.
And I think, that those are things that this is the topic can go so many different directions.
Yeah.
Yes, Paula.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yes. Paula's over here working for Outback Steakhouse. She's over here talking about you got to pull back the layers of the onion. Yes. Sometimes that onion is not what you need, Paula. So you do have to pull those layers back. And you can't do it all the time. You can't do it in one setting.
No.
You can't do it and have one conversation and expect for all things to be kind of said and done with. And that's something. Hey, Sarita, how are you? Sarita says expect unexpected. That maybe something or someone didn't know what you needed. Hey, true point. True point. And again, the root cause Pythagorean theory and all of that is just communication. You have to be able to talk. Whether talking sometimes is beneficial to you and your point is getting across, or you're talking because your mate, wife, girlfriend, boo thing, side piece has a very valid opinion about the topic that you guys are discussing. But that Paula and that peeling back the onion, that could take
time.
peeling back the layers on the onion. Yes, that could take time. And so when we're talking about blended families and children and entangling and bringing all of that together and creating that chain like connection, that's that bond, that we hope is never to be broken. That's a big deal. That's like a huge deal. And yes, maybe introducing your child and some spot checks here and there is the way to go. I'm not sure that everything works for every person or every situation, but I do know that sometimes you just got to slow it down. Old Tevin Campbell, slow it down. You want to slow it down because you have to take time. You have to let the person figure out what that is. Yep, Paula, I believe you was sitting here taking notes before we started this. A lot of times in my day-to-day work, I deal with some individuals who thought processes are not always clear. And a lot of times I say it over and over and over, and I keep saying, I hear you, or you hear me, but you're not listening. You're listening, but you're not paying attention. I need for people to understand that the decisions that we make on a daily basis are life decisions. Because the decision that you make begets another decision. Or the decision that you make creates an opportunity. Right? Who knew that there would be a show with cat and dog? The decision was, hey, if that's what you want to do, you do it. It started, we had great time. Next thing we know, Ms. B is getting her executive director on social media license, and now she's the director behind the scenes. Social media platform is on overload. And that's what we do. But the people that you put around your offspring, you kind of want to you kind of want some good stuff to go, And Paula, I will say, as you peel back the layers of the onion, make sure you do remember that onions are sweet. So maybe the sweetness didn't start off that way. So you got to give it time. May not be old green onion, it may be a Vidalia onion. You gotta give it time. You gotta give it time for people to settle in. I think in the day of 2020, we kind of, in 2019, the new millennium, we kind of rush and we try to get to, again, big sports fan, everybody doesn't make it to home plate. Everybody doesn't make it to home plate.
No, we have to stop some people before they make it the first
right, place. Right.
And Paula, the listening part, which is, like I said, in the beginning, it was something that it was some things that I had to learn in the beginning. Listen, not listen, for a response. I'm creating my response as he's talking. So I'm only hearing the things that I have something to say back to. You have to be engaged when you're having a conversation with somebody. Now we're so distracted by everything. We're distracted by our phones. We're distracted by everything. When you sit down to have a conversation with somebody, to get to know somebody, I need you to understand, but you're listening to their conversation. You haven't heard what I said, or I haven't heard what you said. And in the beginning with us, I'm guilty. I was listening to respond, not I was. I was creating my response. I was creating my response as he was speaking, and like I said, it takes time. You have to learn things as we take things from our past experiences. You have to learn from those experiences taught me some things. So I had to learn. I couldn't take those things and just pour them all on him and expect him to just magically be like, okay, okay, just say okay to everything that I wanted, or him to say okay to everything I was saying. But I had to listen, and that was hard for me because I'm hey honey.
Hey, yeah. Oh, the pot is calling the kettle. Okay, so now we talking. Yeah, because she knows everything. So one of the things that Dwayne has posed a question. So what about other people in the family, like mom and dad, sisters and brothers? I think they all like me. But how do you engage with them? How do you blend your side to their side? So a lot of that, Dwayne, and again, it kind of comes with time. Um, you kind of have to understand that too. Um, there may be a conversation that you have to have with your sibling, with your family. There also may be a conversation and setting some standards and expectations with your child around, hey, we're gonna hang around the family, we're gonna hang around mom, dad, sisters, and brothers. I want you to fit in. What are some things that you like to do so I can let them know? Because sometimes maybe y'all excuse me, but my brother just chimed in, so he always think he got jokes.
Hey, bro.
What's up, bro? The ugly one in the family. But one of the things is, how do you got to set that precedent, right? Do I want to play with Play-Doh? No. Do I want to go shopping for fingernail polish? No. Will I go? I will be the first one in the store if that's what she wants. We have to figure out how to get to that point. How do we come to a point where everything is kind of a unison? Nothing comes together, right? Um, I think, Dwayne, when I think about analogies, you think about basketball, you think about football. It takes a team time to gel. You just don't have 11 positions. You don't have 5 positions. And they go out there. Everybody's not LeBron. Everybody's not Michael. Everybody's not Kobe. At some point, you have to learn how to gel, but you have to put your child in that situation. But maybe a path of least resistance is when you have those conversations with the adults in your life, aka your family, and say, hey, I'm really trying to incorporate my child into our family activities, right? And as I'm trying to incorporate that, it'd be great, if you guys kind of make her feel comfortable. Let's find out what she likes. Let's do some things. Maybe the segue into creating that is finding out what that child needs, right? What is that child going to do? Or maybe it's a dinner and you cook what your daughter or son likes at that family dinner. Because there's some feedback, there's some engagement. Because what you want to do is you want to keep them going. Hey, Jamelia, how's it going? You want to and get them engaged and get them doing the things that they can do. Go ahead.
It's Dwayne said the first game.
The first game was terrible.
which is true, like you said, because you have 11 different people coming from different. They were a star in high school, they were a star in college, and they get to the NBA and they're not the best. So you have all people coming from, mom and dads from Texas, your sister lives in Atlanta, your cousins coming from Kansas. So, you get all these people, from all different backgrounds, together. And like I said, with us, it was the night before that I actually met her for the first time. We sat down and we talked for a long, we just talked. And it was like, kind of one of those things where I knew from our conversation, I gathered that it was very important for him, for me and her to have a relationship, but for me to understand that would take time. The child is important. Things have to be, kind of on their terms as well. I wanted her to be comfortable. I wanted her, to see me as somebody that would protect her, that would love her, that would do all that kind of stuff. And with his family, you like I said, his mom, his dad, his brother, they were like the most welcoming. Everybody doesn't have that, but you have to create that that, and and get people to respect your bond with your girlfriend, your wife, your whatever. People have to respect the two of you, as you are. And then your child, you protect your child, you expect people to respect your child, so you have to create those kind of things when you're with the family. Like you said, you have to have family time, family activity. We need to have grown-up conversations. We need to have conversations that include the kids. We need to hear from the kids. We need them to sit down and tell us how they're feeling, or what. We understand that this is new for you. Like I said, I understand I'm a bonus in your life. I want to talk. I want to talk to you one on one, but I don't want to exclude your dad from our conversations. So it was kind of like, okay, like you said, that neutral place for just the three of us to just sit and have a conversation. And then we sat and talked with his mom, and we sat and talked. We had those conversations, and sometimes that's hard. Sometimes it's hard, and but it's something that you have to do, because if you're in that person's life, you expect your child to be, okay. You don't expect them to be hurt, harmed, or whatever because of, decisions that you made or they made or whatever. So you just have to be mindful of creating the space that you want. Be mindful of creating, what's important for you and your mate, including your child. You can't tell your child to go in a room and close the door, and that's the extent of it. They have to be included in your life.
And it has to happen, or else you find yourself kind of resenting the fact that you're here and it's not what you're looking for. You don't want anything, you don't want to waste your time and not see anything come out of it. And that's going to be what's important to me, is I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to waste my time. I want to make this happen. I want to do the things that I need to do. Ivan says the process is give and take, and that's the best way of thinking, with understanding that it's my responsibility to make the team work together. In my heart, this is my job to do what is right for the family. Self-explanatory, right? If you're creating something and you want that bond, you got to put in the work, and you got to set the standard. So all of these things, Ivan, you may have missed some of the live, but we talked about that. We talked about the great communication. We talked about Paula comes back and keeps saying, setting those standards, set those standards, take charge, make some expectations. We also talked about, sometimes as men, we got to make sure that we're picking the right person, because you don't want the thorn bush to kind of pour into your rose. That doesn't work that way. You kind of want good things to go to good places. So these are the things that we need to do. We want to be cognizant and aware of the fact that we want to accentuate the great qualities, right? And if we're accentuating the great qualities, as I say, feed them until they look like you. If the things that are positive, the things that are great that you like about yourself, the things that are great and positive and awesome that you like about your mate, that's what you want to pour in to your offspring. That's what you want to pour in to your child. Bringing them around when you're rolling your eyes, rolling your neck, and having arguments and all of that, that doesn't do anything. That doesn't do anything, to be honest, but put the child in a position where they have to make a choice. Am I going to stay here? Do I ride with her? Do I ride with mama? Or do I just not come back to that house anyway? And again, you don't want them to have to make that decision. So again, we're the adults. And as adults, we should be setting the tone, setting the standard, and doing what we can do. It is our responsibility, right? As a man, Ivan just says father, husband, friend. All right, so I'm preaching to the choir, and the peanut gallery gonna start giving me. You got to be a protector, right? You got to be a provider. You got to be all those things. And what we find out is that both ways, male and female, sometimes those individuals are not ready to provide those things. They're not ready to be that protector. or that provider, or that person that can nurture and create a relationship and bring a relationship. Um, there's not always a Superman and there's not always a Superwoman. Sometimes there has to be a team, right? Um, and that team is what you form. And when you form that team, and you want it to be positive, you want it to be powerful, you want it to be, again, that phrase, all of the things, because that's what it is. It's all of the things. You want it to be all of that. If it's not that, then sometimes you're just wasting your time. It's only 24 hours in the day, right? Theoretically, Greek mythology and some studies tell you that there's 8 hours for your usual vocation, which should be your work. There's 8 hours for your service to God, man, and country. And then there's 8 hours for sleep and rest. That's all you got. None of those philosophers said that you got 5 or 6 hours out your day to waste your time. Your time is money. My time is money. Our time is money. Make things count. Have those hard conversations. Do things that you need to do.
It's just like we keep saying over and over. It's just important to have conversations. Topics are tough. But how else do you get answers? How else do you get clarification? How else do you, how else do you move forward? How else do you get on the same page? And how do you create? You have to create. Things aren't just gonna fall in your lap and be easy. You have to create, which creating, putting in work. Creating is work. God created the earth. He worked. So it's like you have to put in work in, like I said, fostering that relationship, those relationships. We've seen the good, the ugly, we see the ugly too often. So I think it just requires work. It requires time. It requires communication. Like Paula said, it requires peeling back those layers. And sometimes what's under those layers is ugly. How do you navigate through that if that's what you want to do? You have to get an understanding of what's going on. You have to, be able to pick up on stuff. Like I said, I know when something is wrong with him. We've had those conversations and we've created that to where you know when something is not right. You know when something is wrong. You have to foster the good. The bad is gonna come. There's a guarantee that's gonna come. But you have to be, on the same page to where the two of you together can, just move right on past. You can get through, and you'll get through all of that stuff. Like I said, when children are involved, it creates a whole different dynamic because we are responsible for somebody else. I'm just not responsible for me. He's just not responsible for him. We're responsible for another person, and we're responsible for the things that we pour into her. And we want it to be the best of the best. We make mistakes, we're gonna fail, we're gonna do all of that stuff, but we have to, bounce back, get up and and keep pushing and just keep pushing.
So Jamila, I feel it. I see what you're working with on this comment here. And I want to be fair to and give it the time it needs to address. And it won't take long because this is real talk. He just wasn't ready. You said, how long did he need? You gave him long enough. You gave him long enough. You did what you did, right? You tried it time and time again. You tried to get the stain out. You tried to nurture it. Some people, some men, because I know some men on here, and I'm glad. Some men just not ready to provide those things. Somebody can't do that. Somebody can't be the provider and the protector. All men are not built for that. Those are characteristics that you're looking for in a man that you have to take time to really pull that out to make sure. Everybody's not ready. Everybody can't. If that was the case, if everybody could do it, everybody would already be married. Everybody would already be together. That's not how it works. Jamila, I see you. I get it. I'm thinking grow up already. But then I remember, and this is not taking up for anyone. You guys mature faster than we do. That's one. And number two, ladies, you just gonna have to accept the fact that sometimes when you were window shopping, you just happen to like a suit that didn't always fit, right? It's kind of like uh, Trina said sometimes, we're on Facebook, I'm shopping and I see some stuff and I'm like, damn, she would look good in that. I show Trina like, not on this body. So sometimes we're attracted to things, but when you go to try to suit on, sometimes they don't work. And unfortunately, in relationships, you don't have a person that can perform alterations. Either it's there or it's not. So Jamila, don't take that. Don't take that as you failed. You take that as you spent your time, you learned some things, chalk it up to knowledge, chalk it up to experience. And when the next guy comes along, the next time you shopping for that suit, maybe it's not the 3-piece suit you need. Maybe you just need someone that's in the 2-piece, with a nice brim on. In other words, you've learned, and now you know what's not on your, what's not in your wheelhouse, what they're not providing. My brother's on, if he's still on, I pick on him all the time because if nobody has picked up now, of course, I'm a member of Omega Psi Phi. My brother's a member of Ka Psi. My dad was Phi Beta Sigma. My mom is affiliated with the Zetas. And we raised my cousin, who was a member of Alpha Phi Alpha. So we get it. Now here comes the empowerment. Here comes the empowerment. You never fail because you're still living. You're still doing the things that you're doing. You're still prospering. You're still getting your bills paid. You're still doing the things that you need to do. You never fail. Never fail. Remember that. Failure is not an option. You're breathing every day. Every day you wake up or before you go to bed or both when you go to bed and wake up and you say your prayers and you talk about the things you want. You're moving. That's life. Life is not fair. Now, you may have wasted some time, but you did not fail. That just sets you up for the next thing, right? That just sets you up for the next break in your life. That just sets you up for the next positive. You never, ever look at it that you fail. I can't tell you that you're not going to feel like you wasted time, but I would urge you not to fail, not to think that you fail. If I can share anything with you, and I'm all about reading Greek mythology, some things. That's just who I am. Get it from a dad. See it through. See it through. If there's anything that you can do, remember that you have not faced anything that other men or women have not faced. And they're still rocking and they're still rolling. I don't know a lot about Ms. B, but I've heard some of her stories that she bits and pieces. She's still rocking. She's still rolling. Just remember that you have not faced anything that other men or women have not faced. Keep that going. Keep moving because that's important. Nothing is a failure. What I tell my staff is, yep, you may have said that you failed, but you just gave yourself an opportunity to make it better tomorrow. There's no such thing as failure. Life is a 360 circle. We keep moving. I never ever, that's just something that we talk about all the time. Jamil, you can get encouragement, honey, any day, at any time. That's why we're here on Wednesday. That's why I'm here. If not, hit Trina up on the inbox. She always posting some inspiration. I don't know how somebody can have inspirational quote 3-4 times a day, but she's supposed to be working 8 hours a day. Something wrong with that? Somebody in this family not working. But this is what we do. Ms. B, you got to talk to us. I know it's 8:30. What say ye? We're doing the things that we need to do. Man, I'm so excited, guys. When I tell you I'm so excited to see my younger brother in on this thing, he's amazing. He's not as handsome as I am, but he's amazing. He does a lot of stuff. When you talk about reinventing yourself, when you talk about intestinal fortitude. When you talk about perseverance, that's my bro. And anytime that he wants to reinvent himself, I've been there. Go do it. It's all about support. It's all about what we do. It is our time is expired for the day. Feel free to hit us up. Like our page, share, do as much as we do. Once again, it's the cat
and the dog.
And the dog. Yep, we switched that on you. And we're here with Real Talk every Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Have a nice day.